Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of Main Street Sports here. Ray Halbrook, owner of Livestream STL, and we are rolling in his house here with the guys here doing another round of football here, part two. And Jeffrey, we're getting closer, getting a lot closer to football.
Closer. I'm chomping at the bit, Ray. I can't wait to talk some more pigskin with these guys. We'll go ahead and introduce our special guest today. We are very pleased that these guys came in on their dead week. Of course, their last free time before all heck breaks loose next Monday for them. But right here on my near left, Alex DeMatteis, the head coach of the Windsor Owls. Thanks for coming in today, Alex.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
And, of course, a man who is no stranger to football in this region, the head coach of the Grandview Eagles, Mr. Dave Dallas.
Thank you very much. But every week's a dead week for me, as old as I am. You know what
That's great.
Don't buy any green bananas, right?
Exactly.
That's great.
Well, we started our football talk last week as soon as the summer baseball season was over, and we wanted to get right into it, part of which is we have a big fall schedule lined up. Two broadcast teams this year for Livestream STL, and Ray will go over that schedule a little later. Of course, that is subject to change and variation as we move forward here in these uncharted waters. But we wanted to get right into football because we're optimistic that everything's going to happen, and we're going to go full steam ahead. So want to talk first. We'll talk about the Grandview Eagles a little bit first, but we'll have questions interspersed here. You guys can both chime in, so feel free. Just wanted to look at last year's team at a glance, 2-8. I couldn't tell for sure, looking at my stats, how many seniors you lost to graduation last year, Dave?
we lost 4.
4? Okay. So not too bad there. Pretty young team. Last year, of course, led in rushing by David Creeth. David Creeth and Dylan Barker also led the team in receiving. You had Jacob Brand and Clayton Riddle both at quarterback last year for you. And then on defense, Clayton Riddle once again and Eric O'Brien were your leading tacklers on the team. I guess before we talk about anything else, and just as a side note, Ray were both working the basketball game last year where David Creeth had got injured, and it was a very difficult thing to see and watching for the young man to go through. Got to talk to the young man a little bit and enjoy being around him. At this point, can we get an update on his health and how his knee is progressing?
Yeah, David's been released, and we had him through camp. We didn't do a whole lot with him. We didn't do any cutting or anything like that with him at this point in time. Hopefully he'll be ready to go. He had his brace the last week of camp. Moved a little bit on that. Did some reps straight ahead stuff. We gradually brought him into it. He was on the bike a lot during practice and running a lot of snake drills and trying to get him in shape. Of course, he looks like the big old heavy now. You're going to get some weight off of him, but no, he's I think he'll be ready to go. We'll gradually bring him into the season. I don't want to overwhelm him early, but we're fortunate that that's an area at tailback I think we're deep at. I think we're 4, maybe 5 deep there in those guys, and I think that's a good thing. So you got Eric and Ryan Rubel and some guys that are juniors that are.
Chase Wilson, I believe.
Chase Wilson. Obviously, Chase was an all-conference kid last year as well.
Right, yeah.
So, I think we got some depth there that we can gradually bring him back. It may hurt us a little bit more defensively than offensively in some ways. So, I
know Ray will back me up on this. Having the pleasure to watch David Creeth both on the football field and the basketball court, the kid's got a motor on him that he never stops, and he's just an athlete that we really enjoy watching, and that's very good news that he's back. I know how much football means to him.
It does, and he's been the last year been through a lot last year, and hopefully this year is his senior year, and he don't have to go through what he went through last year because he lost his mother during this football season last year, and so he went through a lot, and then with the knee injury and those things. So, and he does work hard, and he has a lot of passion to play hard as well, and he's a good kid and came a long way. So I'm real proud of him.
Just got to knock that what our friend Scott Lotta refers to as the COVID 15 pounds off of him.
I got it too. So.
I did too. While we're at it, and I'm going to shift gears because both you guys, you didn't have to deal with the injury during the season, but unfortunately for Coach DeMatteis, he had to deal with the injury during the season. I think it was midway through the fourth game against Park Hills last year.
Yes, sir.
Your quarterback, your big-time offensive threat, Derek Williams, went down with an injury. I believe it was his ankle. Was that correct?
He did. It was one of the two legs. I think his tibia at the bottom of it. That was a crushing blow for us. Things were happening and moving in the right direction. We came out pretty hot the first 2 weeks, and Derek was knocked out of half of the game against DeSoto in the first half. He kind of fell on a football, and our trainer kept him out, being cautious, and then eventually released him to come back and play. We started roaring back. Didn't get that win, but kind of the same thing was happening. We picked up Park Hills real late in the week. It was a bizarre deal. We got lost the game. They lost the game. We kind of negotiated playing a game that kicked off at 8:30, like late Wednesday afternoon. It was the weirdest thing I've experienced in my 20 years. I stayed inside and made a game plan while my assistants had some version of practice. They came out, put in the scratch game plan. We had practice after school on Friday, like a pregame. It was a weird night, but we were coming back and roaring back, and then that happened, and that was tough, and it was tough on our team. The one very telling part about Derek's talent and his ability was at the end of the season, after playing a little bit more than 3 football games, he led our team in every single offensive statistic category, and didn't play in 7 football games, and so that was a crushing blow, but. He's back. He's stronger than ever. We've got a tremendous strength coach at Windsor that's been with us now going into his 3rd year. And post-op, he's putting up numbers in the weight room that are probably on par or better than what he did, before. So we're happy to have him back, and he's excited to be back. And he's pulling the trigger left and right, and he's ready to throw the ball a little bit more this year, so we'll see how that goes.
Ray, I don't know about you. That's the best news on these injury fronts I've heard, because I know how much both those players mean to both of your respective teams, and that's fantastic news. We'll look for more. I know how much his passion is for football as well. It doesn't sound like he put on the
no,
unless it was muscle.
He actually got in a little bit of the basketball season, which was good. And then
that's right, he did. I remember
baseball. Baseball was obviously shut down, but he's on the whatever select club circuit. I mean, he's playing all over the country and stroking them out of every park he can find. So he's going to play baseball in college, which is good. I respect that decision, but he's a pretty good football player too.
Where's he going to college?
He's going to forgive me, I forget the name, Derek, but he's going to a JUCO in Illinois that's been one of the top contenders nationally.
Southwestern Illinois, or
no,
Indian River or something like that, isn't it?
Yeah, I'll try to see if I remember.
Derek, if you're watching, or any
text
fans,
coach,
Windsor,
and let me know.
Give us a comment, drop us a comment, so we can get that information out there on our as you're watching the stream here. So, all right, we got the major injuries updates out of the way, guys. So good news on all fronts there. I'm very glad to hear. Let's get back to talking about the Eagles a little bit, Coach. Before we talk about this year, give us kind of a rundown of how things went last year for you.
I think we were progressing into the youth still. I mean, we this year's senior class was the first year I was there. So, they've came through the program and what we kind of want. We changed what we did offensively last year, which I think tremendously helped us. But we brought Steve Nosley back, and Steve was a longtime coach at Grandview, and I think that helped us not only on the field, but I think it helped us in our community and kind of pulled things together. But we were a young football team last year still. I think we have six seniors this year, and that's David and Brand and some of those guys that's kind of been around the Dawson Milner, who was an all-conference kid last year as well. Those guys have been around the block a little bit, but those sophomores have got a lot of playing time. Chase Wilson started 2 ball games as a freshman and was probably by the end of his freshman year may have been one of our better players as a freshman. So
we got to see Chase, of course, playing baseball this summer for
he played up with
253 and did a very good job being one of the younger guys on the team.
And he's young for his age as well. So so that senior and junior class are really good guys, and that's a big majority of our kids. our sophomore class is a really small group. We only have 4 guys there, we're real thin, and I think we got 13 or 14 freshmen. So our freshman class will be pretty good. It's a decent blend, and then our junior classes. That's our biggest numbers. I think we got 10 or 12 of those guys. So that's a good numbers for us.
Of course, the great thing about being in a small school is playing time for your underclassmen. They get a lot of playing time, and of course, by the time they get to their junior, senior years, like you said, they've had a lot of reps.
Right.
And that only benefits them down the road.
Right, and I think where I think we grew. I think we grew offensively and defensively both last year, but just noticing and our familiarity with what we're doing, it was really noticeable. Even after the COVID stuff, we came back July 6th, and we're picking up on stuff that we weren't even close to picking up on maybe at the end of last year or, middle of last year. So I think we progressed the right way through the season last year. And we had some success late in the year and feeling good about ourselves. And, unfortunate thing is we missed all the weight room stuff, which we needed to grow in. But that's a plus and minus because those guys were our juniors and seniors, which, they kind of beefed up a little bit with they're not. If we did this happened 2 years ago or even a year ago, it would have been a lot tougher on us.
Sure, I get that. Well, with all of those virus protocols, you did conduct your summer camp, and you talked about some of the positive takeaways. Any individuals stand out for you that you'd like to mention? Anybody come in there and go, wow, okay, this guy's on good pace here?
I think up front offensive line-wise, this is kind of the second year with Coach Nosley with those guys, and I think that's probably where we progressed. I think we're starting to become a tougher group up front. We're becoming a little bit more physical, getting off the football, pushing the sled and doing the things we need to do to make us a tougher group. And I think that has shown. I think the biggest progression I think we made as a group is I think defensively I think we'll be better because I think we're more mature, and I think that's where we struggled the most as a young group. I think we'll get better defensively there, and obviously offensively we'll I think we made the progression we needed to make, but we didn't take the steps we needed to take defensively, and I think we'll be ready to make that transition and make those steps this year. So
it's a good point you bring up about a young defense. People think about defense. Oh, you just have to be athletic to play defense and do that. But you guys know more than anybody else. It can be very overwhelming for a younger player. When you come out and you're looking at different sets and trying to figure out what your responsibilities are, it can really get to you quickly. So
we talked earlier about the Luther North game. People go, those games didn't do you any good. You know what? I think they did us good.
Really?
Because obviously the outcome wasn't a good outcome, but we're going up there and we're going to play as hard as we can. And I think it showed our kids the courage they can, because there's at times we moved the football, we did some things. Obviously they're better athletically. There was no question about that, and there's no question going in the ball game about that. But we went up and played hard. But I think it helped us know that we can play at a different level if we choose to do that. And I think it gave us some courage and toughness that we needed to gain. I think we did gain those things from playing those guys. So you can get that. So,
well, Coach, without naming names or anything, have you had any players or families decide that to opt out due to everything going on with coronavirus?
No, we have not. We've not had anybody do that. So, knock on wood. Hopefully, we don't.
Yeah, we haven't either. So it's this whole process of a phased entry plan has been the interesting part. So right now the choice has been easy because we're pretty spread apart, and we did our phase one through the entire month of July. So I think that we'll be tested a little bit more coming up here. I think that's a reality we all have to wrap our minds around.
That's very good to hear.
Yeah.
I know several teams, baseball teams this summer. Of course, we were in a little different position then, a little more uncertainty going on, and some kids decided not to play summer ball, and I respect that, and it's coming from their families and things of that nature. But so far, everything I've heard on the football front is full steam ahead, 100%. Coach, you talked about your sophomore class being small, but how do your overall numbers look this year?
Well, we'll be between 32 and 35 somewhere probably.
Well, that's
overall.
That's not bad for
Yeah.
for your school. That's
And, I think that sophomore class hurts us along from the numbers standpoint because, if we had, 8 or 10 of those even, it would ramp our numbers up even more. So
sure.
but that's that it is what it is. But our middle school numbers are really good, and so we feel good about that too. So, we think we got it going in the right direction, and that's a good thing, I think. So
Absolutely.
The direction is a little bit different than a lot of people, but we're getting there, and I think we made that. They're getting to where we need to go and establishing a program. So
there are certain ways that you can measure success of a program other than what's on the scoreboard, and we'll talk about that a little bit later here. But talking about last season, and you talked about the offense a little bit and changing things around. You threw the ball 46 times last year, which almost constitutes a balanced attack in Jefferson County.
Exactly.
I don't know that Hillsboro's thrown that much in 3 years, but
I mean that's probably more than Coach Nosley thrown in his 27 years of coaching. So,
but as you said, with the younger team, you've retained most of your skill position players. So can we expect more of that same type of balanced attack from the offense this year?
I would say we're balanced. We're going to run the football, obviously. It's just what we do offensively. We definitely want to run the football. I think that's the number one thing. But I think we have quarterbacks that can throw it, and we have some athletes out there that can catch it. We lost Dylan. He was a senior kid last year. But, we're going to put the best 11 athletes on the football field. And you put Ryan and Eric out there and David and Chase in the backfield. And, you got a good combination of people that I think.
Yeah, you got several guys who can catch the ball.
Right. Yeah.
For sure.
So I think that'll be be a plus. And I think our quarterbacks are more than run oriented. So I think that's a good thing.
Well, with all those skilled position players, and I hate that term because every player on the field is skilled. You always hear that, and being an old lineman, of course, I take issue with that.
Yeah.
But. Have you, and you talked about the toughness of your defense and defense growing. Does that mean an increase in what you're going to try to do scheme-wise, or are you going to kind of keep it the same?
No, we'll basically keep it the same. I mean, you always tweak a little here and there you pick up and things like that. But I think basically I guess that's the biggest growth I've seen was that we've been able to maintain what we want to do, and we got more football knowledge and those type of things, and I think that's been a big plus for us. And our football IQ increased, and we retained it, and so it makes it simpler. We're getting guys calling signals and checking and doing the things we need to do defensively. So I think that's a plus. In comparison to, hey, stop and teach this at this moment. And it just and our summer camp we had we averaged probably 25, 26 kids a day there throughout the summer, which was for us is pretty decent.
That's a very good percentage there.
And you got Chase playing baseball, and you got Eric playing baseball, and you got those guys that some of your big guys are not
Coach,
there.
I know all about the baseball circuit.
Well, we love coming up and doing baseball at your beautiful facility up there. But that's a whole other story.
Oh, yeah. We ended our season out there. It was awesome.
That's right.
I haven't played an inning in my life, and I know all about
that. You hear about it every day, don't you?
I do, yeah.
Well, that's all those kids had there for the beginning of the summer. So, I can't, I'd rather them be doing something like that than eating donuts.
And the baseball players really got the short end of the stick. The way things happen, the baseball and spring softball,
and
track athletes. But
I feel bad. We had a good group of girls. Our girls kids coming back were really good. And
I was going to say you had a decent.
We had a chance. So,
tell us who do you think really you talked about certain players. Who do you think you guys, the rest of your team can look to for leadership this year on the field?
Obviously, those senior kids, Brand and Chase and Dawson Milner, and and David and you got Ryan Rubel, who's a junior kid this year that's shown a lot of maturity through camp. Eric O'Brien, he probably from week 1 to the end of the season probably grew more than any football player we had last year. You got Austin Welch, who's an offensive lineman that's been through our program all the way through. He'll be a junior this year, and he'll be one of our starting offensive linemen. Has gotten tremendously strong right now. He's really taken some strides that way. You got Dawson Milner on the offensive line. You got Brandon Vollner that started for us at center last year every ball game. So you got Gavin Odom. Gavin's been through us. He's a senior, been through the whole program. Started the defensive end last year. He'll start both ways this year, offensive line, and so you got all those guys that have been around that are good football players that are I'm just real proud of them how they've came a long way. So so I'm real pleased with that. And Michael Trost is another kid that last year really struggled. Had some struggles, personal struggles that were going on in his life but Michael Trost didn't miss but one practice throughout the summer. Last summer that was a struggle for him. He's really dedicated himself to doing the right things, and and he's a tremendous athlete and a tremendous player for us.
I'm so glad you brought that point up, and I know you guys as coaches deal with this all the time. It's so much more than that. Coach X and O's and putting together schemes. I mean, you're helping coach these young men's lives outside of football as well. They talked a little bit about that on the Coach's Box show Monday about what this virus or the potential of shutting things down would do to a lot of these kids that desperately need athletics and activities, and a lot of them, maybe not have a great situation at home. And Coach Jarvis talked about what would have happened to him if he didn't have sports. He probably wouldn't have made it through high school or gone to college. So whether it's athletics or any other activities, these things are very important, and that's why it's so vital that we get these kids playing and doing these things again.
Well, at Grandview, Alex knows this. At Grandview, the high school is the community. I mean, it really is, and
that's the meeting place.
That's the meeting place. So to not have that and not have those kids have that connection, and having a lot of struggles in their life and different things like that, it's just a different atmosphere there than in comparison to there's a community in Imperial and Festus and everywhere else. I mean, those are our things. So. Yeah, we are. I think that's number one thing. I think our job is to make those kids better young people, and so they can go out and be good husbands and fathers and employees and all those things later on in life, and get them where they want to go in their life. And I think that's where I'm at in my career, at least. It's more about that right now, obviously, or I wouldn't, be doing what I'm doing or continue to do what I do.
That leads right into my last question for you, and this is actually for both of you. You can't always measure the success of what you do by the scoreboard. What are some of the ways that both of you measure your success as a team, but also your personal success as you as a coach and your coaching staff? We'll start with Alex on that one.
Yeah, it's been an interesting process. So going into my fourth year at Windsor, so these seniors have been with me since they were freshmen. When I was first there, I heard a lot of, they're going to play hard for a little bit, then if their game's not going well, then it's going to be all downhill from there. And I saw some of that, and it was frustrating, and that was kind of my number one thing that I wanted to make sure we washed out of our program immediately. And by the end of year 2, at our postseason banquet, we put on a very nice banquet at a banquet hall for the kids. I mean, I can honestly stand up in front of everybody and say that I thought we fought, 4 quarters, 10 football games from the beginning to the end of the season. And last year I had no doubt that that's where we're at. And that's kind of the, part of my personality and the fighting spirit where it's like, if you got to scratch and claw, then that's what you got to do. And, so even though we still had some lopsided scores a couple years ago and even 1 or 2 last year, there was no doubt in my mind that we've learned to fight, and I think that's one of the things that I want our kids to take with them and outside of our football program when they graduate. And just going into this year with all the challenges that we've had, and even though we only had a month, I could tell that that message, it's hit home. It needs to continue to be pounded home. They get sick of hearing it, but at the same time, our kids get it, and that's how they practice, that's how they play, and that's my expectation. And then the other flip side of that is, just all the involvement that goes into building a program. It's been really nice to see, and Coach kind of commented about this, where kids know where they're supposed to be. They know what they're supposed to be doing. They understand some of the basics and ins and outs of the scheme, how we're going to practice, our habits. Our coaching staff understands that. Our middle school coaches understand that. Our junior program understands that. And we have a pretty nice top-to-bottom thing going right now. One of the things that we've been working hard on is strength conditioning and getting in the weight room. And like I said, we have a tremendous strength coach. Coach V goes by, and he's all the rave around the county. People are looking at him for advice and how to do things. But there's one thing to have the guy there. It's been another thing to get the kids to walk through the door, to enroll in his classes. What we're doing with him in the summertime, and it's just been awesome to watch it grow. And now that all the seeds are planted and they're starting to germinate, I think it'll pay off on the field down the road here, and hopefully sooner than later. But I can walk away each and every night knowing that we're on the right track and we're doing the right things, and we've built a really good program.
That's got to feel very fulfilling.
It does.
And
I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that my assistant coaches are great men, and they're all doing this for the right reason. A lot of them some have more experience than I do, and have been around Windsor a lot longer than I, and they're awesome gentlemen, and couldn't have done it without their help.
Well, in speaking of Coach V, he's got a great Twitter account, by the way,
to
follow, because I really enjoy seeing about the progress of the strength and conditioning programs. And we had 3 coaches last week who were all in charge of their strength and conditioning programs, in addition to being head football coaches. But, anytime any athlete in any sport is doing good work, he's there to film it and put it out there on social media and get support and shine a light on those kids. I love that, because that's all what we're about, anything. So it just as an aside for that. But Ray, why don't we take our first break of the day, if you don't mind, and when we come back, we're gonna put Coach Steve Mateus in the barrel a little more. Put the bright lights on him and talk about Windsor Owls football program. So stick around. You're watching the Main Street Sports Show on Livestream STL. Guys, I've always wanted to ask you this since you're both pitchers. What's your favorite pitch? It's a fastball? Okay, I know. It's a curveball. No? Okay, well, what's your favorite pitch?
Oh, yeah. Spitball.
The Main Street Sports Show. You never know what we're going to throw at you.
Since their inception in 1980, SMCI has always been about high integrity and treating people the way you would want to be treated, just like family. Mostly known as a commercial contractor, SMCI has now decided to give the family treatment to everyone. They are now opening their residential department to the public as Home by SMCI, so everyone can experience the home treatment. Everyone deserves maximum comfort in their very own home. Isn't it time you come home? Contact SMCI at 636-337-4444 or on the web at homebysmci.com.
USA Mortgage, the home of possibility. Offices located in Festus, servicing homeowners from St. Louis to Cape Girardeau. Contact Justin Neal at 636-385-5232 or check him out on the web at festus.usa-mortgage.com. A former player and coach of Festus 253 baseball, and now specializing in criminal defense, family law, wills, estates, and trusts, the law offices of Matthew Brown is here for you, representing you the right way, not the easy way. In Festus at 101 East Main Street or on Facebook and the web, call 314-628-0033.
For fine Mexican cuisine,
a family atmosphere,
any place to watch your local sport teams. Come out to La Pachangas.
check out our 4 locations: Arnold, Herculaneum, Crystal City, and Bonter.
Come out to La Pachanga.
Where's the game? Where's the game? Where's the game? There's the game. Livestream STL, now available on Roku.
Welcome back to Main Street Sports. We're going to start our second round of questioning here. That sounds so bad, but second round of questioning like we're
Investigation?
like we're investigating, right? Exactly. But we're coming back with our second part, so take it away, Jeff.
Well, and for this segment, I turn my hat around backwards in honor of Coach Chris Miller, the head coach of the St. Pius Lancers basketball team, because he challenged me to do so because he always wears his hat backwards. So, Chris, I know you're watching right now because you never miss a Main Street Sports show. So here you go. This is for you, buddy.
There it
All
is.
right. Wanted to follow up and finish our question before we head over and talk about Windsor Owls football. Coach Dallas, I wanted to ask you about how you measure success, both for your team on the field, off the field, and for you and your coaching staff as well.
You know, 37 years ago when I became a coach, it was kind of all about the wins and losses and kind of my ego and all those other things. I think as I got a lot older and a little bit wiser, I think, like I said a while ago, I think number one is we're here to make those kids better young people, and so they can go out in society and be good role models and be good citizens and those things. I think that's the number one thing. And a lot of things, as Alex knows, we had a unique situation when I came to Grandview in terms of we went junior varsity and then the varsity, and then last year was our second year into the varsity, get back into the varsity schedule. And I think I still to this day think it was the right thing for us to do at that point and kind of set the reset button. I think it helped us get our numbers back up. I think it helped us get some continuity in what we're doing and consistency. And from my standpoint, and Alex was there, and I really appreciate what he did because he did a lot of good things and he went through a lot of struggles at that point in time and a lot of transition. There was a lot of positives that helped us get to where we're at, and I do appreciate that. I don't think I never really told you that, but there was a lot of good things there that you did that went unnoticed, and that was unfortunate, but we're able to push the reset button and set the expectations the way we needed them set. So we were able to grow with that a little bit more so than maybe it's almost like starting a first-year program. So you could challenge it that way. And in a situation like Alex, it probably was not a great situation for him in terms of where Grandview was at in that time because he wants to go on and coach his career many years, and it could have been a struggle for him he would have maybe looked at it differently than what I did. The wins and losses didn't make a hill of beans to me, okay, and where I'm at. So, I hope we can benefit those wins and losses here the next couple of years, but I think we can because I think we were able to establish a pattern we needed to establish to build from the groundwork and, the expectation, the discipline, what it takes during the summer, what it takes during the off season, all those type of things that needed to be established. We were able to kind of set the reset button and, those guys were able to flow with it, So I think that was a unique situation from our standpoint, and I think our kids have bought into that, and we've been able to gradually build it up, and hopefully it'll pay off with some success on the field as well. There again, it's not. I'm looking for kids to play hard. I'm looking to be disciplined. I'm looking to do the right things in the classroom, off the field. All those type of things that so they can go home and be proud of who they are and what they are, right. And be proud to be a Grandview Eagle. No matter what happens on Friday night. It's how hard we play and how we do it and how we approach the game. I tell our guys all the time. I said, respect the game. The game's meant to be played hard. It's meant to be played physical. Respect the game, and that you can do that. So, and one thing from the day one is we talked about is win the play and win the day. Okay, so every play you want to be the best on that play. The next play you want to be the best, and by the end of the day when you tally it up, did you have more best during that time or where were you at? And
sure.
So it was that. Wasn't win the day. It was win the play. So that's kind of what we hung the motto on. So, I think, Alex kind of knows where we were at. And I think I know that was the best thing for us, and we were able to do that. But it was a unique situation that way, and I think we're able to establish some of those things.
You talk about, both of you guys talked about, and as did the coaches last week, you're really in the business of coaching up and building up young men and making sure that they understand and have the qualities they need to go on and be successful in life. And, whether that's athletic prowess, whether it's, owning their own business, whatever. And, you guys have that in, and then we come out in the periphery, and we like to shine a light on those kids. And if we can help by any stretch of the imagination, shine a little light on these kids, get them some recognition, give them, hopefully expose them to more opportunities so they can move on and be successful. So I really applaud what you gentlemen do in your jobs, and it's so much more than, like you said, the end of the day, the scoreboard and what that says. Of course, everybody wants to win. Kids want to win. You guys want to win. And we want to see great games, but that's not always going to happen. But the life lessons are so much more important. So anyway, I'll get off my soapbox on that, and let's talk a little Windsor Owls football, if we don't mind. Last year, 3-7 record. A dozen seniors you lose last year? Or
yes, lost a dozen.
Lost a dozen seniors, graduation. You lost, we talked before the show, your all-conference defensive player of the year, valedictorian, and I want to make sure that this is mentioned on the show because Coach said football program had 2 years in a row valedictorians at Windsor High School. So I'm tired of hearing about football players not being smart.
Right.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Anyway, Seth
Elkashab.
I knew I was going to do that. I'm sorry. He's moved on, graduated Wash U. And we have another athlete that will be moving on next year, Katrin Couture from Jefferson R7 moving on to Wash U. So a couple of very, very smart athletes.
Absolutely.
As you mentioned, you lost Derek Williams part of the third game and into the fourth game of the season last year. You also talked about he still managed to lead the team in points scored, rushing yards, and total yards. Kalen Gamerick came in. He did yeoman work for you. He filled in at quarterback and rushing the ball and everything he could. And I don't know if he the last of the Gamerick sports dynasty coming through. Do they have any more coming?
I believe so.
Yeah, no more Gamericks coming through. You also had Mike Wolcott. He was a workhorse for you in the receiving corps, along with, is it Connor Begeman?
Connor Begeman.
Begeman, and also on special teams, those guys. Talk a little bit about your summer camp and some of the positive takeaways for you. And did anybody come in, raise some good eyebrows for you, and you go, hey, that's that kid's done some some work.
First, Derek being back there, being our trigger man again was a big deal. His presence is just the confidence around him. Everybody just kind of upticks a little bit there. we dabbled with a spread package last year. We busted out a few times early on, and Derek did well with it. So we've elaborated on that this year. And Michael Walcott, he actually ended up being a third-team All-State returner, which was a pretty nice feather in his cap. He took back a kickoff and a punt in Week 8 and Week 9 last year, and was real productive on special teams. And he's a great slot receiver. Probably would have had a lot more targets had Derek stayed healthy.
Sure.
Kalen wasn't as comfortable throwing the ball, but Connor Begeman was also an all-conference kid. Mikey was too as well, and so we and Connor Begeman's 6'5". He's a 6'5" junior. With
Big
Mikey,
target.
yeah, Mikey's about half as tall as he is. So, but they're going to be a nice little combination working together out there in the receiving core. So as far as surprises, I don't really think there was too many surprises. What's nice, going back to some of the things Coach Dallas was saying about having kids in the program, our senior class, when they were sophomores, were down to about 6 or 7 kids, and they had to play varsity football, a lot of it. So there was a lot of quality reps. So we've got Owen Exler and Tyler Hunter on the offensive line. Owen's we always tell him to eat at our team dinners. He's a skinny little offensive tackle, and I'm, his big fat coach telling him, "You need to eat, you need to eat." And but he's going into his 3rd year as a varsity starter. Tyler Hunter's going into his 2nd year, but started on and off his sophomore year. We've got a running back, Chris Butts, who runs about as ticked off as a running back as I've seen in a while. So he's a downhill, hard-nosed kid, and he played a bunch when he was a sophomore. He's been starting at linebacker for us for going into his 3rd year here. So for the most part, we've got some guys with some experience and who've earned their senior year, and we're ready to see what they can do.
Well, speaking of that, because you lost some of your guys to graduation, what are some of the key positions you see on the field that you might have some really good competition for starters?
Yeah, I'd say our defensive line isn't going to be a ton of change there, but our linebacking core, there's going to be a lot of competition. Chris is the only one that's coming back that was a full-time starter last year. So
and then Seth had to move from D-line to linebacker at some point.
Yeah, he did Week 8. We had probably one of the worst years of injuries I've been a part of in a long time. So, but Seth was a super productive. He's leading our team in tackles, playing defensive tackle in a 3-front, and he's all over the place. And being a smart guy, we were able to teach him how to play a middle linebacker in a couple days. So it was kind of refreshing. I told him something the first time, he'd repeat it back, and he'd go out and execute. So, and he had a couple dozen tackles, each game there to round out the season. So,
and for folks who may not understand that, the number of tackles he had as a D lineman, you just don't see those type of numbers typically.
No.
Those aren't your leading tacklers normally. So the fact that he led the team, but he led the conference in total tackles. I think the only other player in the county, middle linebacker, was Dawson Jacobak, the small school. He had 75. I think Seth had 79. Mm-hmm. But the amount of tackles he had as a defensive lineman is just that's otherworldly in my opinion.
The production was off the charts, and he wasn't some guy that would kill anybody either. He'd just, kind of keep his motor running and execute a good solid form tackle and got people down on the ground, and that was it. So real proud of him. He's got a cool story. He moved here from Egypt when he was 10, and he lives with his aunt and uncle. He has no other family here at all. He's got a couple cousins, and just him learning English as a second language and the ability to produce a valedictorian type of academic record and going to WashU is incredible. So
he didn't even know about football. Nothing about it until he came out for practice.
Yeah, the other kids kind of asked him because he's a good athlete and he's I don't know what this is. I don't know if I'm comfortable with it. And even when I first got to Windsor, he was a sophomore and he still was completely unsure of what he was doing out there. I don't think he watches football on Saturdays and Sundays. It's just something that he does. But, man, he's a good, strong, athletic kid, and WashU got themselves a good one.
That's for sure. Is he a thrower for for Washington track and field?
Yeah, I believe he's gonna. He was a shot disc and javelin thrower, and again, if track season would have went off, I mean he probably would have made a nice little run and got on the podium in a couple of those events, and I think he's going to try and throw javelin for WashU too.
He's a good javelin thrower.
Outstanding. So how are you looking so far going into next week as far as overall numbers for the program?
Well, it's. I hope our numbers aren't inflated because of the type of practice we've had to execute, but our numbers are as high as they've been since I've been there. I've got 68 on my list right now for the high school. We've got 25 freshmen, which is huge. I mean, usually it's a victory if we're getting out and keeping a dozen freshmen through the season and trying to look at that 10 to 14-ish type number to maintain for a class. So they're out in force, and we've got some newbies, a couple seniors trying it for the first time, a couple juniors trying it for the first time, which is great, but, as we all know, been in the trenches before, football does get hard when you start, getting those pads cracking, and they haven't experienced that yet, a lot of them, so hopefully, they're going to stick with us when that time comes.
Well, to me, that's always a good sign of a good program is when these older kids are convinced now, hey, wait a minute, something fun's going on over there in the football program or whatever it is. Excuse me. Let's give it a try. But, Ray, if you're following along, will you do the questions for a minute so I can have a coughing fit over
You're going to have a coughing fit, and I'll turn your microphone off here real quick. I'll just jump to the very, very last question, and let me get this set up right here. So we'll let him cough a little bit. But, wrong person, but this will be me. And I did that wrong, too. That's funny. But here we go. I got it set up right. So I always ask my question, and this will be, I guess, since there's a COVID twist to it at this point, let us know. Oh, you're up. Okay. You want it up now? Okay.
Well, I wanted to preface that for you.
Okay.
The COVID question.
Okay.
We both had these guys on the show, so we've already asked them the Ray question.
Yeah.
So this time around,
So
this time around, I thought with the COVID involved, the question should be, with the COVID this summer, did these guys take up any new hobbies? Did they learn any new skills? Did their spouses, like my house, we had to do home construction, remodeling throughout the house because my wife had a lot of time to think about things. Or maybe they binged a Netflix show or something like that.
Right.
So that's kind of what I was.
I was with you, completely with you there. So the question is, what's something you did during COVID that might be interesting for us to know? And I'll start with Mr. Dallas.
Well, my wife's working from home as well, so I did a lot of honeydews. I just did what she told me to do. We picked up a couple new Netflix shows. Heartland was one of them, and Longmire was the other one. So those are two good ones we picked up.
All right.
We also decided about midsummer that we were going to get a hot tub. Okay.
What is it with hot tubs? You're not the only one. I've heard more people like that.
We found out that everybody wanted hot tubs and swimming pools during the COVID.
Right. There was actually kind of a shortage.
Well, we're not getting our hot tub till probably the first part of October. Okay. So we thought we'd go get a hot tub and we'd have it the next week and we'd be up and going, but that's not going to happen. So those are things. But it's actually had the grandkids there all week last week. Been a travel. My one son lives in Kansas, and I had two sons live in Kansas actually, and we've been able to go back and see the grandkids and travel back and forth that way several times. So that's been kind of fun.
Nice.
So
that's totally nice after a crisp Friday night football game. You come home
it will
and
be.
unwind in that a little bit. That'll be very good. What about you, Coach?
My wife's working more than she has traditionally, so she's been very busy. So the honeydew list was never ending, and I had to make sure that everything was taken care of, clean house, hot dinner on the table when she walked through the door. So I did a good job with that for a while. I'm working on another college degree, so I was able to kind of wrap some things up with that, which was important. I started reading. I've probably read about 10 books here, probably 8 or 9 books here in the last 6 weeks or so. I'm just binge and reading, which
Right.
is a weird deal. I don't usually do that, but it's that's been my new thing. When I get a chance and I can get the iPad out and get going on that.
Nice.
But for the most part, I've got a 7-year-old son and I got 3-year-old boy-girl twins.
Wow.
And besides them tearing up the house and drill sergeant making sure they learn how to pick it up. But that's
keeps
been
you
kind of
busy.
my since March for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I
I
wanna
think
ask
the
you-
wife. I think the wife is watching actually, if I remember.
Oh,
right.
she might be, yeah.
Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah, she's doing a great job. So I
Posted a grocery list for him or anything
Yeah,
like that. Thing
right.
to pick up on the way
He'll
home.
be getting a text here in a minute.
oh, there's
Right.
no doubt. Yeah.
Now, if Mrs. DeMatteis is watching, some of the other coaches last week, they took home food from La Pachanga for their families for dinner. So I'm just tossing that out there.
Yeah.
Get a little carry out so you don't have to worry about cooking tonight. So anyway,
Your phone's buzzing.
one last question on football. You talked about maybe now that Derek's back and you've got all those skilled position guys back, opening up the offense even more a little bit. Any new plans on defense this year? You've got a new linebacking core, so is that going
Yeah.
to change your scheme a little bit?
I Coach Dallas probably, with all his experience, is a little bit better at making these decisions than me. But kind of my philosophy is that if you're going to make wholesale changes on one side of the ball, you probably better leave the other side alone. And we're not making. I guess schematically, people, the casual fan's going to say, "Wow, they're doing all this different stuff," but really, the heart of what we've been trying to do the last few years will be present in everything. I mean, our individual drills are similar. Even the way we approach how we're going to execute is similar. We're just going to kind of do it in a little bit different way here and there. So it's going to be more of a spread triple option attack than your run-of-the-mill under center split backs that we've been doing the last couple of years. So, but, yeah, we're going to leave the defense and the special teams exactly where they're at so we can access that prior knowledge and get that going.
Not that any other coaches might be watching this or taking notes right now, so we don't want to say that. But anyway, let's take another break real quick, Ray. When we come back, we got just a couple more questions to ask both of these fine gentlemen on a beautiful Friday afternoon here at La Pachangas. You're watching the Main Street Sports Show live on Livestream STL.
For fine Mexican cuisine,
A family atmosphere.
any place to watch your local sport teams. Come out to La Pachangas. Check out our 4 locations: Arnold, Herculaneum, Crystal City, and Bonter. Come out to La Pachanga.
I wonder what Coach Jarvis is up to.
Jason! Jason! What's up? What's up? Man!
Oh, hang on a minute. I got a call from Blair.
What's
What am I doing? I'm sitting here watching the coach's box.
This must be a wrong number.
Since their inception in 1980, SMCI has always been about high integrity and treating people the way you would want to be treated, just like family. Mostly known as a commercial contractor, SMCI has now decided to give the family treatment to everyone. They are now opening their residential department to the public as Home by SMCI so everyone can experience the home treatment. Everyone deserves maximum comfort in their very own home. Isn't it time you come home? Contact SMCI at 636-337-4444 or on the web at homebysmci.com.
A former player and coach of Festus 253 baseball, and now specializing in criminal defense, family law, wills, estates, and trusts, the law offices of Matthew Brown is here for you, representing you the right way, not the easy way. in Festus at 101 East Main Street or on Facebook and the web. Call 314-628-0033.
What you guys do for Jefferson County sports, it doesn't go unnoticed by the coaches in all sports.
Yeah,
all
I appreciate
sports.
that.
You know, I have a lot of friends that are basketball coaches, and I've been, of course, around Jefferson County all my life and followed all kinds of sports, even before I got into the coaching. So what you guys do to help promote it with the kids is unbelievable, and we appreciate you guys.
Yeah.
For you guys to take your time and what you do is awesome. Just awesome.
Yeah, we try, we work hard, and we think they deserve it. The kids deserve to be able to be seen, and if we can turn out kids in the community to better them, get them in college, and make them a better citizen, that's the key. Welcome back to our final segment here in Main Street Sports. Before we do that, we will let you guys know about our fall sports that's going on, especially after our MSHSAA report from a couple of days ago here. Sports are looking very, very good on our side, and we're going to let you know about what we've got going on here. First off, obviously, since we're doing football, we might as well do football first. We're calling our football segments Friday Night Blitz every Friday night. We'll have two teams out. You'll have a chance to choose off of our Roku channel, either Livestream STL channel or our Livestream STL South brand new channel.
Which I still think we should have called that one Livestream STL The Ocho.
The Ocho? Well, we could have done that. We could have done that too, but I figured South because in case we have some folks over West, which we are making some inroads over there as well.
Exactly. You're teasing our viewers right now.
I'm teasing the viewers, especially up there at Francis Howe. So
St. Charles County.
So there you go, St. Charles County, and we may be calling that Livestream STL West. Another segment we'll be doing is Jeffco Diamondcast, not baseball, but girls softball. And then also we'll be covering volleyball this year for the first time, a full season. Not a lot of games, about 8 games to start. So we're just going to kind of test market that, if you will. We'll call them that Jeffco Spike Time.
Spike Time.
So that's what's going on with that. But if you're interested in advertising in any of those 3 different sports, you can get a hold of us right here at Livestream STL at 314-852-4398 or Livestream STL at Outlook.com, and we're going to run right into our next segment. Mr. Jeff, take it away.
Well, Ray, I appreciate that. And folks, as Ray mentioned, we love to shine the light on these athletes, and of course we can't do it without your support. So give Ray a call. Sponsorship deals are available for this fall, very affordable packages to highlight your business like we highlight the athletes.
Absolutely.
All right, these questions are for couple of questions here for both coaches, and start with Coach Dallas on this one. Just general thoughts on MSHSAA's release this week regarding athlete eligibility at schools that have gone virtual for the fall. How do you feel about that, Coach?
I actually think it's the right thing to do. Give those student athletes the opportunity to be able to play, and those schools to be able to make those decisions and keep them in their community and in their school districts. And we obviously don't want anybody that gets sick with this thing or anybody to shut down or anything like that. We want to be the safest we can be, but I think it's the right thing for MSHSAA to do and handle that. Maybe it should have transpired a long time ago. We wouldn't be everybody wouldn't be scrambling to decide what's going on. If this would have happened 3 weeks ago, but understand their stance but I think it's and there's going to have to be tweaks along the way as we go through this whole process this year in particular. Now, I think we go back to next year and we're back to a quote normal situation.
Right.
I think we need to. I don't think the online things should be. You're able to do that. I think we've got to go back to our normal school setting that way. But I think the situation we're in right now is the right thing for them to do.
Coach
the tough part is just like the rolling day to day. It's kind of getting old, but we're us being coaches, we're not the only one in this situation. I mean, our administrators are losing their minds right now trying to figure out how things are going to work with all the changing information. The rules of this whole thing are changing. I'm with Coach. I wish it would have been released a little while ago. I found it to be a little inconsistent that if you're having in-person school and you elect to go online, that you were still going to be able to play. Meanwhile, the kids that their districts are totally virtual weren't going to be able to play. So I'm at least happy to see that consistency is going to be present now. I'm married up. And there's some superintendents that have some big decisions to make, and I wish them the best with that because it's a tough time to be in that seat.
Absolutely.
My son's a head coach at Hutchinson Community College in Kansas, and they pulled the plug on fall. They moved everything back to January 1st, basketball, everything. The junior college system did. So they're doing all their sports besides cross country and tennis, I believe, in the spring.
Correct.
And so I think it was the right thing to do then. I think hindsight now they're out in front of everybody else, and they know where they're at, and those kids know where they're at, and so I think it's easy for them to make the decisions they need to make moving forward. Versus it's going to be a day-to-day thing with a lot of the colleges and high schools. Here the next 3 months.
At least the JUCO kids know where they stand.
Right.
And we're all dealing with this uncertainty day to day, and we're going to continue to deal with this through this semester, as you said. So my personal rant on this is simply the fact that I agree with both of you gentlemen. I think that if anything, this virus and how things have progressed this summer have taught us anything, it's the value of sports and the value of recreation and the value of activities for young people and adults too. But one thing it's taught me is professional sports in my life are not nearly as important as I once have placed a priority on them. Not nearly as important as local sports and high school sports and amateur sports. And seeing these kids get to do what they love, the mental aspects of this are so important. And we've seen so many people suffering this summer. The longer this thing has gone on, and the more cooped up people are, and I just think that the return to these activities is far outweighs the risk of COVID for the young people at this point. And my personal rant, that is not that's the express written, the information of Jeff Whitener and not Livestream STL. So
the views of this show.
The views of this show. That's right. That's what I was looking for. Last question for you guys. We talked to coaches last week. The Missouri coaches came out a few weeks ago, and they were talking about the idea that they were suggesting the teams do not hold jamborees. Coaches we had on last week, for the most part, said that they're going to go ahead and they understood the coaches association advice, but they're going to go ahead full steam with jamborees. So what are you guys planning on, Coach DeMatteis?
Well, Coach, I guess I'll take this one.
You had the jamboree, big boy.
We do. We host and we host a double jamboree. So we were going to have at least 6 teams, possibly 7, come to our place. Grandview joins us for that. So we decided locally that we were going to cancel that and all jamborees. So softball, volleyball, soccer are not going to be participating in those. I guess when you're looking at how we're dealing with this, it's about minimizing probabilities. And for us, at every jamboree we've had since I've been at Windsor, we have 6 to 8 schools in the facility at the same time. Their fans, etc. Fans, I know, are a whole nother deal, but to me, it kind of made sense as far as the logic behind it. The value of a jamboree, I think, is kind of what we're going to be losing here because that, the kids, going out, adrenaline rushing, they usually get that out of the way at the Jamboree when it's a safe time to make mistakes. It's not going to be costly to your ball club or your record or anything of that nature. So I think that the first Friday night's going to be awfully interesting. We're going to have some guys that are pretty amped up and not be able to temper that, having that live opportunity the week before. So, but, I'm supportive of our administration's decision, and I think that, it does make sense to me. So since I think Misha's come out and said you can scrimmage another school,
right.
But we don't have any plans to do that at this time.
Well, Coach Dallas, since you were part of Windsor's Jamboree, then that obviously changes your plans a little bit. Will you be scrimmaging or jamboreeing against anyone else?
At this point in time, no, that's not what our plans are to do. I agree with Alex. I think anytime we can maybe not have the opportunity and be able to play more games just to play the one, makes a lot more sense to me. And I think it's going to be interesting game one. I think for a lot of people, but there again, I think it's probably the wisest and healthiest thing for us to do.
Just to follow up on that, this summer was a strange and difficult situation with summer baseball because obviously the baseball players hadn't had a chance to play in the spring. So it was funny just talking to the spectators, the parents, the fans of the teams. They weren't really concerned about the product on the field because it was sloppy at times because they didn't have the reps in. The guys. The pitchers didn't have their pitch counts up. A lot of guys started off could only pitch 2 or 3 innings. So regardless of the score or the product on the field, people were just happy that they were playing, and it was just kind of an overall feeling of just, we're happy, we're here, they're playing a game. So we really have to look at that. I think as fans of the game. Outside of that, the fact that these kids are going to be playing, and we may see a product that's a little sloppy at times the first couple of games, but the main thing is these kids are getting a chance to play, and if that means they can't have a jamboree, then so be it. It's still worth it to get them out there and have them compete during the regular season.
Right.
Small sacrifice.
Ray, you have any thoughts on that?
Let them play. That's all I care is that they play. I really do. Because, we've already seen a cancellation of spring sports, and you've got a bunch of kids that have been cooped up all summer as well. Let them play. And, it's I know bigger schools in the St. Louis County area, and I live up in St. Louis County, so I understand. I mean, my 11-year-old, we found out yesterday he's going all virtual. So he doesn't play anything yet, but he wanted to get involved in some extracurricular things like band or things like that. So it's difficult to do that when with any type of I guess if you want to call it educational system the way it's going to be. I know it's going to be very different, but he did summer school all summer and didn't have a problem with it. So I feel okay with the educational side of that. I just know that you've got a lot of kids that are, mentally unprepared for this, and parents too. I mean, parents like, where am I going to put my kid, and things like that. So I understand it, but this is a good outlet, for them to run off some steam, run off some energy and things like that. So let them play. Let them play. We're going to play in Jefferson County, though. I know that. So.
All right. Well, I think we're all in agreement on that. Ray, I don't know about you, but I've had a great time talking to these gentlemen today, talking football. Thank goodness. Nothing against any of the other sports, but having this to look forward to and having it to look forward to in the fall.
Right.
Is very important to my psyche, at least. I don't know about everybody else's.
Right.
But, again, we want to thank Dave Dallas, head coach of the Grandview Eagles. Thank you very much for coming in and spending your dead week time with us. And Alex DeMatteis, head coach of the Windsor Owls. You have to go home now and get back to doing the chores. But
no doubt.
We appreciate that. We're going to look forward to seeing you guys during the season and watching your team suit up and bang heads against some other opponents. So thank you very much for watching the show today. Live stream STL, the Main Street Sports Show, right here from La Pachangas in Herculaneum, Missouri. We'll see you next week, folks.